Welcome to the Animus podcast, a weekly podcast focusing on everything Assassin's Creed, community news and discussion. I am one of your hosts, Abstergo Employee Handbook, and I am back from my holiday in Fiji, and I am now coming to you, not live, from New Zealand, and it's really early in the morning. With me today, as usual, is Aries.
Hello, friends.
And McCracken
I didn't go anywhere.
Oh, hello, guys.
And I guess this week is Shadow Marcus.
Hey everyone! Thank you for having me.
Yeah! Today we will be discussing Shadow's time in the community and in Assassin's Creed, access the Animus, who Shadow is from, and their work with Assassin's Creed initiates, which is amazing. And then we're going to talk about the expanded universe, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the Abstergo Employee Handbook. So let's get started! So, Shadow, would you like to introduce yourself a bit and tell us a little bit how you got into Assassin's Creed as a series?
Okay, so I started being a fan of the franchise back in 2007. I played AC1 and all the other games in the right succession, but I just played AC1. As a normal game, as other games, I didn't get involved in it in the franchise until AC2, and I was, I was fascinated by the present day story and its relation with the past one. So how the past could affect the present day, and I was a big fan of the glyphs in AC2, and that's why when Brotherhood came out, I got involved in the Italian community because I saw that in the English community a lot of people were talking about the possibilities of the franchise. And what the glyphs and the clusters and the present day and the first civ could imply for the future of the franchise, and so I wanted to share my opinion with all the fans, and so I started lurking on the Italian Ubisoft forums, and then I joined more than one community in forums and blogs, and then I started writing long posts about the glyphs and the clusters and, the implications of the present day. And sometimes I wrote some posts about the historical part too. And then, I always, I think from AC3, I started playing the games already in the original language because I found many mistakes in the Italian translation, and so I got so angry because the Italian fans may have found a lot of mistakes, and so the games and the plot weren't represented in the correct way to the fans. And sometimes I have been, very vocal in the Italian community about this. And, then after AC3, I took like 5 or 6 months of hiatus from the community. And then with a lot of with some friends, we got to found Access the Animus, you know. And so from that time onwards, I have been closer to the community, and you know, I followed even closer the marketing campaigns because of all the news that, you know, were released before the games came out. And so you know, I've tried to play every single game. Maybe I missed the DS games, and I try to
I played a couple
be,
of those.
yeah, and all the times I try to be updated also on the expanded universe, especially uh, on the comic books and books that are especially related to the plot. But I really like the art too.
Yeah.
So.
You mentioned Access the Animus, and we'll get to that in a little second here. But most of our listeners are English-speaking, so they might not actually understand too much about the Italian Assassin's Creed community. Would you like to tell us just a little bit about how big is that? Is it a pretty big community?
I think it is. Yes, it has been already at least since 2009 with AC2 and even before. It started with the in the Ubisoft Italian forums, but Italian, as always, we try to, you know, be different. So a lot of local communities and sites were born in Italy, and a lot of fans went on those sites instead of the Ubisoft forums, at least in 2009, 2010. And so those communities grow very large. There are like 4 or 5 communities that are kind of large, and they are always monitored by Ubisoft in a way or another. And yeah, so in Italy it is it has been always a big franchise, and there are a lot of fans for this, and Ubisoft always organizes a big presence in their in a convention called Lucca Comics, which is held in Lucca, which is a town in Tuscany, and they always create big things like in there. At least since 2012, they have recreated the Bunker Hill battle with 200 actors, and they have. For AC4 they have created you know, a representation of the you know, we had to take a leap of faith from, like, it was like a bungee jumping of 60 meters tall, and we made a video of that on Ata. It was scary. And so yeah, there is a big presence of the community, and Ubisoft Italy mostly responds to that.
Okay. Now, let's talk about what arguably you're the most well known for in the community, and that would be Access the Animus. For someone who has no idea what Access the Animus is, could you explain to us what you guys do?
Okay. So we try to be, Access the Animus tries to be like a hub for everything Assassin's Creed related. So we almost daily and sometimes more than once a day we post news and try to be very updated on the you know, news-wise about Assassin's Creed. So about the future games, about the movie, about collector stuff, and also we another one of our main focus is the plot. So we always write huge articles, very long articles about the plot, and the ones I write are generally about the present day, and I always try to explain what the fans may have been missing and stuff, and try to connect points among the various releases of the Sega of the franchise. And we recently have opened with our new member Matt. We have opened a Collector's Hub, which is a new section about collector stuff. And we also have features where we show how what kind of fans we are, and we have our memory recovery program feature, which shows artworks, especially rare artworks that haven't been shown so much. And so we try to even expose the work of the AC artists that we have this feature like weekly, and we already have today we posted our 40th issue. So there are a lot of artists, and so we try to follow this.
All right. Now, would you like to give us okay. I'm sorry. Access the Animus isn't exactly the most obvious. Haven't seen like a member list anywhere. Would you like to tell us a little bit about how big the group is? How many people are there? And is it like mostly Italians, or is it mostly English?
So at the moment we are 7, and 6 of us are Italian, and our recent new member Matt is Canadian. And we try to divide the work, let's call it like that, among us. So I try to focus on the news and on the plot-related articles about the present day. And then there is my girlfriend Sari, who is the webmaster. And so without her, we wouldn't have been able to have a site. And we have Xander, who is our graphic designer. So he created the graphics, some graphics about the site, and he's always taking care of the pictures that we every once in a while we release about what we do. And then we have AJ, who now is our video master. So with him, we always try to create videos about everything we can release. So from the interviews at conventions, from the videos of the hidden files that every once in a while we find. And then there is Hephaestus, who is the other article writer. So he always works with theories, and so he is our main canon about the theories. And then we have Stefania, who is taking care of the Twitter account, and she always helps us, or I should say, she takes care of the translations from the Italian to English and from English to Italian. And hopefully I mentioned them all. Hopefully.
Real quick, one thing about the Italian and English. One thing that I really enjoy about this page is that all of the posts have something in English and something in Italian. And as I am a student of Italian, I like being able to read the little paragraph and see like, oh, wait, I actually understand what these words mean. That's specific to me, but something I enjoy about your page.
It's something that we didn't do from the start. Because we were born as an Italian page, at the beginning the team was entirely Italian, and then when we started hammering on the news, we found more and more fans asking for English translation. So while we went on, we decided to translate all our posts and later all of our content in English. So as to show everything that we do and that we find and that we think with all the community abroad. So every time we want to produce every kind of content, we always have to have it ready in Italian and in English before releasing. So that's why we needed Stefania, and she is helping us so much. We wouldn't be able to do it, to be like this otherwise.
All right. So now let's say hypothetically that someone is a major fan of your work and maybe would like to join you guys and help out. How can someone get in contact with you?
Oh.
Are you guys opening up to applications, or is it a bit of a closed thing?
As of now, we aren't, but we always try. We always look in the community and inside our community. So, for example, our Math, who joined us recently, was a huge member. He was commenting all the time, and he was every once in a while he sent us via direct message on the page news that we were almost getting to them, but he found them first. So we saw that he was very active, and so after a while we talked inside the team about calling him, and then we call him, and he joined us. Okay. So if we see anyone that may help us in what we need, and if he's a fan,
yeah. So what you're saying is, okay, if someone is a major super fan and you guys need a spot, need some help out, then you'll contact them. So to all your fans, just keep commenting, keep being active on the page. And if you continue to be a great community member, then you'll get your chance.
Yeah, I think what he's saying is, can you give Aftermath the job on the page?
Yeah.
maybe not. I'm a little busy with this at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's really, really busy now.
Okay, and so everyone can find you guys at accesstheanimus.com and on Facebook at facebook.com/accesstheanimus, right?
Yes. All of our social media is youtube.com/accesstheanimus, twitter.com/accesstheanimus, and Facebook, and the site. So our main social media are YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook.
Yeah. And we could see it on the Facebook page, which is where originally I think most of you guys were on the Facebook page, right? Or did you start out with the website?
We started already, looking at the future. So we started out already with the site, the Facebook page, and the Twitter account.
Nice.
But we had to learn by doing. So we concentrated at the beginning on the site and the Facebook page, and then we saw that we had to, every time we wanted to release a content, we wanted it to be synchronized on Facebook and Twitter. So that's why Stefania is helping us with this too. And we got organized by doing, because we found issues and then we find solutions,
One of the biggest things you guys have done recently, one of the things that the entire community appreciates, and what's amazing, is that you completely recreated and salvaged the AC Initiates database.
Okay, So I'm really, really proud of this. So back in the day, we saw that this big database was being created, and slowly every once in a while we saved some of the text and the pictures. We didn't save all the text and the pictures before the site was closed because we weren't ready. So it went out from one day to another, even if the site hadn't been active in the previous days. But we didn't know, nobody knew that the site would have been closed. So we had saved some of the database, some part of the database, and then in the recent, I would say 2 months or 2 months and a half, we went all around the internet to find all the information that every kind of page or site or forum or fan had saved. And so we mixed all the documents that we had, all the pictures that we had, and everything that we found all around the internet, and we tried to organize it exactly as the site was. So we have on our database all the dossiers about all the main characters, and we have all the memories about the ones that were differentiated in terms of historical time. So we have the Middle Ages group, the Renaissance group, the American Revolution group, and then we have the surveillance part, which was the one that all the fans were focused on. But we had that because when it was released, we already posted them on our page, also to translate it in Italian, as always. And AC Initiates wasn't in Italian, so we tried to provide this service to the Italian community. And so it took 2 months or 2 months and a half to more than one member of our team to work on this. But it was I really believed in this project, and I was so happy to see all the how the community reacted to this, and even some devs, some Ubisoft devs and writers commented on this. I even saw a writer said, "You saved our work," which is
That's high praise.
it was strong, yes. And so yes. What the database is missing right now, but we're hopefully we're trying to add to that later, in a later stage, is the Desmond files. So the files that were following Desmond from September 1st, 2012 to the day in which he died, and so which was the first content that was added to Initiate. So we still have to add that, but we'll surely do that in the future.
Yeah, before you guys did this, the only way you could see most of the AC Initiates content was on the wiki, and even then it wasn't like formatted the way it was. It was just like raw data and like the raw text, and it wasn't nearly as fun to read through.
It was. The wiki did a great job in archiving all the I would call present day stuff. So they have the Desmond files. They have all the stuff that happened between the Desmond files and the surveillance. So there was a time in which the site was closed, and there were daily questions and daily stuff in which the fans had to answer a single question every day for I think
remember those. Those were fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then a long history of doing different things.
Yeah. And so there's this page on the wiki that has recorded all the present day stuff, which I generally check almost every day because for reference, and yeah. But we try to provide a broader database, so with the original content of the historical part too. Because sometimes there were new pieces of information in that too. For example, there is a memory about Mario Auditore when he was 6, and so yeah, we tried to cover all of that
You
with
guys
the art,
did a great job.
with all the artworks.
Yeah, doing the Lord's
Yeah.
work.
Oh, and all the artwork and everything. That's insane.
Yeah.
All right. Before we wrap up with this section, what is your
Well, it's
favorite
been going
AC
long enough,
game, Shadow?
Okay. Oh, that's a tough question. I would say I would have to separate the present day and the historical part. I would say for the historical part, I'm a AC2 and AC Brotherhood, maybe AC2 and AC4 are my favorite in terms of historical part. And I was connected to AC2 because being Italian and seeing my favorite cities that every once in a while I already had visited. I've been to Monteriggioni like 4 times right now. And for the present day, I would have to say Brotherhood because it contained all the elements. It had the gameplay in the present day, and it had the emails. It had something happened, and it had things that were changing the future of the franchise, and maybe I liked AC3 too for the present day because it contained a lot of information and it contained a bit of action. So those would be my choices.
So this week's weekly discussion thread is on the expanded universe, which essentially means everything that isn't in the games. So we have a lot to cover. That includes comics, initiates, movies,
Novels.
And we'll start with movies. So this week, the closest thing we have to news is barely any news, and that is that we got a poster, supposedly,
Theoretically.
for the Assassin's Creed movie. And it has an eagle that looks very, very upset. You can tell its eyes. It's like giving a glare. It says in theaters 12/21/16, so next Christmas or a little bit before then. And that's pretty much it. We don't know when this game takes place. We know it's starring Michael Fassbender, Marilyn Cotillard. We don't know if this is a story that already exists in Assassin's Creed or if they're writing a new story. We don't know if it's modern day, if it's Altair, if it's whatever. So we're completely in the dark about this. We're pretty much acknowledging that this movie exists and moving on because there's just about nothing else to talk about. So what would you guys like to talk about with this extended universe stuff?
Let's go start with the graphic novels. That's probably the main thing that
That's a
people
good
will
place to
think
start.
of when they think of AC's expanded universe. So first, in terms of graphic novels, we had The Fall, which took us to Russia, and during the Russian Revolution and shortly before it, and also took us to Daniel Cross and Abstergo
In the 90s.
in the 90s, which was a very
He gets 90. He looks 90s.
oh yeah, he's
He
thoroughly
looks very
90s. And that actually
Then it becomes Space Jesus.
the Fall.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, The Fall and its sequel, The Chain, added a lot to the universe originally, and not a lot of people actually experienced that when they were first released. And it actually added a lot to a certain character who would then show up in AC3 and then shortly disappear.
That's Daniel Cross.
So if you
That
played
would be Daniel
AC3
Cross.
and you're wondering who that weird guy who was suffering from headaches and talking in Russian was, read the comics and you'll appreciate his character much more. Because he's a very good
I will
character, but
say-
he's treated horribly in AC3.
I will say, I think one of the reasons a lot of people haven't read the comics, I mean, I knew what was in the comics, but I only just recently read them, and it's because graphic novels are expensive.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know, people are somewhat excused, but they're great and you should read them. They're probably the only piece of published literature, I guess, that explores characters outside the main games.
for the most part.
Well, we could also include the novels.
Well,
Novels mostly do that, but even then, they're always like,
Yeah.
Forsaken is Hatham, and it overlaps with
We'll
AC3,
get
and
funky with the novels in a second here. After the Fall in the Chain, after the Fall in the Chain came Brahmin, which was also added quite a bit, but it was a bit more self-contained, and there were no like open ends and things, but it added quite a bit to the lore in that they featured the Koh-i-Noor, which is the Koh-i-Noor diamond, which was a big piece of Eden. And they haven't expanded much on that yet, but because the Koh-i-Noor in real life went to England during Queen Victoria's reign, we think that's going to be mentioned in Syndicate.
although in Brahmin, they actually sent on a fake Koh-i-Noor to England.
Yes, that's where things get a bit more tricky, and some theories have played into it a bit, and which one's the fake one, which one's the real one. But we think that's going to.
It's like that scene at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy.
I hope that it gets in Syndicate.
Yeah, we're going to get 5 Koh-i-Noors, and then we're going to have Thanos appear in the Assassin's Creed universe.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's good.
That's the thing with the stones.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
In Marvel.
So yeah, there's the graphic novels, which are probably the largest piece of expanded universe and most expensive.
Physically, they're the largest.
They're the largest and most expensive piece of the expanded universe.
Well, unless you count the encyclopedias.
Yeah, that was.
Are they expanded universe?
Yeah.
Or are they just like
they go
guides and
expanded
stuff?
They do add things that aren't necessarily in the games.
I think they go. I only read the first one. I only own the first one. But it goes into depth a bit more about like the 6 assassins whose tombs you go into in AC2, and things like that. It expands a bit more on modern day as well. One of the things I thought was really cool, and it was just concept art. They didn't actually talk about it, but there were several versions of modern hidden blades, and there's like one that's just like a jackknife. There's one that's a taser, and
it's a stun gun.
Cool.
So there's the graphic novels, the encyclopedias, then there's the novels.
Yes.
Which are a pretty big piece, and they usually directly into the games, but sometimes they stray off a little bit. Like Unity's was focusing on Elise, and Forsaken was focusing on Hatham, while AC4's basically just depicted what's shown in the game.
Yeah,
AC4 had a little bit before and after with Hatham, with Edward in England, but beyond that, it's pretty much just the games.
Yeah, all of the books have like a chapter or two that are not in the games. But if you're, I mean, you know, it's whether you actually want to read an entire book for like just this one part that you don't know about. So, I mean, the two like that I would read if you're going to do that would probably be, I mean, not including Forsaken and Unity, I would read Revelations and Black Flag because I think they expand the most outside the story.
I would advise the Secret Crusade too.
Yeah, that one. I don't think it. I mean, it kind of hit on the stuff in Revelations before we got to Revelations, but for me, it was a really good read just because it touched on what happened in Bloodlines and stuff, which we hadn't heard about before, unless you played Bloodlines on the PSP.
Anyone here play Bloodlines on the PSP? I did.
I played. I guess these probably count as expanded universe too, but I played Altair's Chronicles and AC2 Discovery. And AC2 Discovery is much better than Altair's Chronicles.
If the game,
if only because it works better.
Let's talk about the expanded universe itself first. The idea of it. Expanded universe means anything outside the source platform for a material. So with Star Wars, anything that's not a movie would be expanded universe. With AC,
and it's also not canon.
With yes, sure, now it is. With AC, it's anything that's not inside of a game. So I think that Bloodlines and things like that would not be expanded universe.
I don't know. It's definitely not something that most people would have seen or recognized.
There's kind of an understanding of what qualifies a main sequence, so that one, two, can for Rogue Unity, and everything else are kind of other games. And I would say that I guess I don't think they're expanded universe certainly not main games.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree with that actually.
Okay.
I can understand that. So we talked about graphic novels. Let's talk about comics real quick because a lot of people don't actually realize there's a difference between the graphic novels and the comics.
Yeah, there's the French
comics,
which are weird.
Originally were only released in France and French Canada in French, but have been in the last few years have been translated and been released in larger markets. They are very complicated because they're pseudo canon. Well, let's talk about canon actually first. Canon is whatever is following the overall story of the universe it's set in. So,
well, it's also like something that actually happens in the universe it sets in, because you can have, I mean, all the things I can think of with AC are either fully canon or semi-canon. Like, I would probably call like Tyranny of King Washington semi-canon, but
it is canon because it's inside of a dream, and it gets
but then like the actual events are like, it's weird. And so what we mean is like, for instance, in the comics, everything in the comics that takes place in the past, so following this Roman ancestor, then this Egyptian ancestor, those are all canon, so they happen really in the Assassin's Creed timeline. But there's also a modern day piece with Desmond and this guy with an eye patch or shades, and none of that is something that happens in the official Assassin's Creed canon. So
it's an interesting take. I didn't expect Ubisoft to go that way.
Basically, if it's not canon, then it conflicts with something in the main Assassin's Creed universe, generally.
So if I wrote a fanfic about how Ezio gets superpowers, that would not be canon.
That would not be canon unless
Ubisoft
Ubisoft acknowledged it and said that this is what happened.
Yep.
Which
Ezio
is what
rose
happened
from the grave in...
And so that's originally what happened with Star Wars' expanded universe, and that fans would write the novels, and then LucasArts would say that is what happened.
Yeah, good enough.
And that's what we say. And then they came back and raved that. Which wasn't fun for anyone involved.
Yeah, and that's also confusing, because I think what they may have like gone back and said, well, it's not canon if we contradict it, but that means like most.
Yeah, so they put it into class of legends, and so that's like stories told in the universe, I guess, instead of something that definitely happened. So they can basically get free reign to overwrite as much as they want.
Yeah,
fair enough.
So we're talking about the physical stuff. Now we can talk about AC Initiates a little bit, which we already did quite a bit.
Just breezing through this stuff.
Yep. AC Initiates added quite a bit historically and also modern day, I believe.
Yes, it did.
Yep, both. It did the whole storyline with Esaosa, as well as basically everything that happened to the Assassins between Assassin's Creed 3 and 4, and I think also a bit between 4 and Rogue/Unity. Which was very interesting.
Yeah.
And all can be found on accesstheanimus.com.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting you, Shadow Marcus. Did you want to say something?
No, I was just saying that I was completing what you were saying. It goes, I think, until June 2014. So it was halfway before Unity and Rogue. So that's how it. The initiates went up until there, and but it expanded on the previous stories too. So it added on some details about Altair and some details about Aveline. So there were details added, so expanded details about the main characters too.
Yeah.
But of course, the main things were the ones about Esaosa and about the present day, and sometimes inside there were those things called missions, where you interacted by playing the games, and inside of those there were information about the initiates as organization, but they were very, very little.
And
very hidden.
It's all very confusing, and unless you were there and experiencing it in real time, it gets confusing.
Initiates that we're talking about is not Initiates Now. Initiates Now is mostly, to me, just like a dumbed down kind of version of the missions.
Like
They basically stripped out the structure of the missions and just made it pure grind.
It's basically
Like,
just a stats
Yeah.
format.
Yeah.
It's blah.
It's
like, if you want to up your initiates level, just grind stuff. Whereas like it used to be like, you know, partake in like the lore trivia kind of
Through the
things,
depths.
and then the missions in those were more specific. Like,
No one from
you know,
Ubisoft just told us why they did this. I don't
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, here's a thing. Go. have
Yeah,
fun,
no one
do it.
asked for this, I don't think. And is it budgetary reasons? We don't know why they did it.
I don't
One
think
thing,
they,
though-
they would answer.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
don't think they're
so,
probably not allowed to answer, which sucks.
yeah.
McCracken, to your point about how Initiates is now kind of dumbed down, but once was this really cool thing. I think with Assassin's Creed, and I guess transmedia is a term for it, basically the idea of having an expanded universe across different platforms, Assassin's Creed is really one of the few franchises to actually do this. There are other really big franchises like Call of Duty, but you won't find much of an extended universe because it's just shoot guy, yeah, you win.
yeah,
Halo did this very well. I wasn't a Halo guy, but I know
Halo
they
has
have
a
a
bunch
lot
of books that are really good.
yeah.
Halo and Mass
Um,
Effect.
and Mass
Effect's
Effect
books are
as
not
well
as
has
good as
a
Halo's books, but
But I think the fact that Assassin's Creed has so much depth in it beyond the games proves how truly, massive of a franchise that it is.
I mean, honestly,
How
one of the
much
nice things about
there is to it.
Assassin's Creed is that if you want, you can. I mean, the expanded universe, because we deal with history in the Assassin's Creed games. If you ever want to go in and kind of think about, how. I don't know. I mean, it'll mostly be theorizing, but you can always look for. To some extent, content, if not directly related to the Assassins, but you can always go back and look at, like, this time period will be really cool, or what have you.
Yeah. Generally speaking, I actually really like the idea of expanded universe, and I like that evolution, because sometimes I can't read. I can't.
Can't read?
I can't. No, sorry.
That's what I said.
I
You
can't
get this
read
far
a
after
game.
math.
I can't play a book. But I love to be able to read something about the Assassin's Creed universe, so that when I get that chance, where I don't have access to my console, then I get to read about it and still get to learn more. I really, really like, especially the novels, is something I really, really like, and expanded on greatly my thoughts, and it changed my perception greatly, and I really like that system, even if it makes everything a bit more complicated, but if it's handled well, then it can be really, really great.
I would agree. I think just the overall idea of having an extended universe is that if you have a fan that is content to play the main games, that's all I want, fantastic. Great, you've got what you want. But then with the expanded universe, there's always more. And however much more you want it's just dependent on how far you want to go. So if I want to figure out, I want to know more about this character, you can have that. If you want to know about characters that are never even mentioned in the games, you can also have that too. So it's just, there's this whole world, and it's yours to figure out how much you want to find out about it, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I really like it. It's a really great system. Frankly, unless they start to get really, really confusing and convoluted when AC Initiates was heading that way. With all the different phases of AC Initiates instead
I think
of
that happens inevitably to every expanded universe.
Yeah,
and
but
I guess
they
that's
handled
why-
AC Initiates really strangely originally. How it was basically 5 different sites through its evolution.
Yeah, I mean,
And there was the time when it was like daily questions, and then it was zooming in on the map to go investigate areas of the map, and then it was this database, and now it's a stat tracker. Yeah, so it's basically served as Ubisoft's basically anything they wanted to use it for.
Yeah,
It's a Swiss Army website.
Yeah.
with tools that are more useful and tools that are not so useful.
Recently, Shadow actually wrote 2 articles for Access the Animus on called The Present Day Chronicles, the Abstergo Employee Handbook, focusing around the Abstergo Employee Handbook, which was a piece of Expanded Universe which was released alongside Unity. Myself and Shadow will be talking a little bit about that, since McCracken Way and Aries here actually didn't read it, and also didn't read the Access the Animus article like I told them to.
Bad.
I'd rather read the source material first, thank you.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah, I'm sure that's
That's
Like,
the
you don't
reason.
read a review of the movie. Well, you do, actually, but that's not the point. You don't read a
Yeah.
summary of the movie before you go see the movie.
Yeah, but I gave you 3 weeks notice or something like that.
Do you want to...
Yeah, but that was 3 weeks ago. Anyway,
Okay,
You have to spend money, are you kidding?
In the Abstergo Employee Handbook, this follows a character called the Agent or something, and he's going through the data found by left by Robert Fraser, who was a memory analyst. Analyst. That's the word for Abstergo, looking through Arno's memories, which is very interesting. Shadow, you wrote the articles, so would you like to tell us a little bit about it? Because
Okay.
I read it a while ago.
Yeah. So the employee handbook is divided into like 2 stories. It follows the story of this agent, which takes place around October 2014. So it's kind of around Unity and Rogue. And he gets the task by Alan Rickin to follow to analyze the documents left by Robert Fraser, who is an Abstergo research analyst, who was the first analyst to look into Arno's memories. And so the agent looks through the documents that Abstergo Entertainment gave to Robert Fraser, and so he gets a little bit of information about how Abstergo is made of, and so how it was created and which are the ongoing projects. And there is a part dedicated to the Helix attractions, so to the Helix virtual experiences. And inside of that, there is one of the pieces that made a lot of fans talk about. And there is a virtual experience about Connor, and there are some information about his wife. But no fans knows if. Yeah, no fans knows if this is propaganda or not. The definition is after his wife takes his children and leaves him forever, an aging murderer meditates over a lock of her blonde hair and wonders where his life went so tragically wrong.
The thing about this is we know that in AC3, during one of the conversations Connor has with his assassin apprentices, one woman, I forgot what her name was saying...
It was Dobby Carter.
Dobby.
Is she blonde?
No.
No.
Okay, then.
So
There goes my theory.
I think she seemed blonde in the artworks, I think, but she isn't in the game. So,
Okay.
It's implied that they got it on.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing about this, and some people think it might be propaganda, some people think it isn't, because it's internal documents. They're not releasing this to the public. So what use would that being propaganda serve?
This is the description of the virtual experience, like the descriptions that we can see at the beginning of Unity for the tragedy of Jacques de Molay. Mm-hmm. So nobody knows exactly, and so
I mean, it's also kind of similar. I mean, we had the like the marketability analyses for like all the assassins in AC4 as well. And those are not released outside of Abstergo, but they were also very
propaganda.
Propaganda.
It wasn't quite propaganda, but it was taking a Templar
very
over
anti-Ezio, anti-Connor, anti-everybody.
Interesting.
Please, his name's Enzio.
Enzio Auditoire. All right. Hangdon. That's my favorite pronunciation.
And so after all this information about the virtual representation and stuff like that, he is handed Robert Fraser is handed his project about Arno, and he first draws some profiles, and he follows his memories in three phases that are called childhood through imprisonment, which follows Arno's life from childhood through his imprisonment in the Bastille. And he then goes on the second phase, which is called imprisonment through apprenticeship. And then he writes a part about enemies and allies. And while he's going through Arno's memories, there is one big element that is making its comeback, and it's the bleeding effect. So the bleeding effect had been left, outside of the brand. Like in AC4, it was mainly controlled by the Animus Omega, and I think the book justifies that that Fraser gets the bleeding effect because he's going through Helix. He's using Helix, and it's not a perfect machine. It still has to be released, and so he's experiencing the bleeding effect. And so through the book, we see him slowly going into madness, kind of like Subject 16, kind of like Clay. But it's really, really nice to see because he's writing sometimes some notes as if he were Arno. So when he's doing a report about when Arno finds out about Balek and the fact that he killed Mirabeau, he says, Balek knew I wouldn't give up. I knew he'd figure out it was him, and he gets sometimes so crazy that he's writing in French, even if he never studied French. Mm-hmm. And so the book follows Robert Fraser and his research of Arno's memory, and this was, I think it's this research is justified by the Unity files, because there are some mentions in the Sage's research about the fact that Melanie found the memories of this French guy who may have met a sage, and so the handbook ties to Unity in this way. But it also ties to Unity for the outcome of the story, because at the end of Fraser's story, he is followed by Dr. Victoria Bibot, who is like a doctor inside of Abstergo Entertainment. But can we go into spoilers? Or
let's kind of talk about let's talk a bit about it. But let's not ruin any of the reveals.
Yeah.
There are a few twists and turns in it, which I think would probably be best if you experience them yourself.
Arno's an assassin.
Yes, Arno turns out to be an assassin, and Alil is a Templar.
Can we talk about Arno a little bit? There are a couple letters in here that Arno wrote to his father. They're sort of impossible to read because they're in cursive. But
if you have the thing itself, it's actually not too difficult. And actually, one thing, as you say, there's a few. I'll steal this topic from you. There's a few letters that he writes to his father after he died, because that was supposed to help him get over and grieve. And there's actually a lot of detail in that, and it expands upon Arno's character really well. And actually, in his youngest one, when he's 8, there's actually quite a lot of spelling mistakes and things like that.
Yes.
And it's badly written, which I really like, that attention to detail.
It's really interesting, and the attention into about the detail is really strong. And I recently started reading the Unity novel, and I found it really funny to see Elise at 10 writing as he was like a literate and she was like a writer at 10, and while in the handbook, Arno is portrayed really much better, because he's really writing as an 8-year-old, while Elise in the book is, it seems like she's very much older than she should be. And so this is one of the elements that should have been in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it would have,
definitely. Yeah, I agree.
And it's heartbreaking to see that Arno's having, he's writing these letters to his dead father, and that's so much detail that I wish we could have seen in the game, because I just, like, in the past minute have gotten a whole new insight into Arno, and I now see him in a different way, that he's really, really, struggling with this, because in my mind it was always like, Arno's dad dies, and then he thinks it's his fault.
Let's move on. I got a new dad now.
Yeah, it's not handled as well in the game, but in the book, in the Unity novel, and I guess the Abstergo Employee Handbook, it really expands on this character that, I mean, to a lot of people just seems kind of bland, but he's really actually got lots of depth to him.
It alienated a lot of people when playing, because people didn't find it exactly realistic to just have your dad die and, like, suddenly 10 years later everyone's over it. And now, new father figure
it seems
died.
like in the game, like, the people who die, and he's like super like, I need to go and do whatever. But these letters actually make sense that he would have such a strong reaction to his father and then the other person who dies dying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why from the game it seems like he's worrying more about, Francois de la Serre's death than his father's, while, the handbook covers that. And so this is one of the moments where the expanded universe is really important, but at the same time it's one of the moments where these elements should have been in a game. So it's one of those contrasts.
Yeah, the expanded universe can detract from the source material.
If you put too much into it, that should be in the games.
Yeah, exactly. What else could we say?
It adds to Abstergo's history quite a bit.
Sorry?
It adds to Abstergo's history quite a bit. In that their marketing campaigns and everything.
Yes. So in the first part of the handbook, there is like 30 pages of the handbook are dedicated to what Abstergo did. Like there are some mentions about Project Legacy and some mentions about and some mentions. Sorry.
Oh, I just really liked Project Legacy.
Yeah, I think every one of us loved Project Legacy. I was a big fan of that. And there are lots of mentions about the tech that was shown in the AC3 multiplayer, so the Animus OS classes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And well, yeah, there's some depth to Abstergo as a company. There is a mission statement, and there is also a non-disclosure agreement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
And if you look at that, there is a mention about the fact that the employee who signs the non-disclosure agreement, the employee agrees that even subconsciously he cannot transfer information about Abstergo. So.
Ouch.
Yeah, so you're done anyway.
I signed a non-disclosure agreement the other day.
Oh,
yeah.
Probably can't tell us too much about it.
Nope.
The only time I've signed a non-disclosure agreement would be for the AC Initiates Alpha.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same.
Me too.
I was like, oh my god, what happens if I say something? And then I realized
didn't get paid for that one though. It was kind of.
And that non-disclosure agreement was broken so many times by so many people.
Oh yeah, fucking.
I kept my mouth shut. Not that it really mattered.
I didn't know. I didn't have access to the AC community at that point yet.
Well, I think that wraps up the episode for this week. Thanks for joining us, Shadow. It was a ton of fun talking to you about access to the Animus and the Expanded Universe.
Thank you too.
The music used in the episode can be found in the description along with timestamps for everything we discussed. As usual, you can reach us on the Assassin's Creed subreddit, which is assassinscreed.reddit.com or reddit.com/r/Assassin's Creed, as well as on Twitter and through our email, animusislandpodcast@gmail.com. For next week's episode, we're doing a bit of a special E3 prediction, because that will be out the day before E3, the start of the conferences, I believe. So we're going to do some predictions and talk a little bit about what we want to see and what we might see at E3, which should be fun.
Not just Assassin's Creed.
Not just Assassin's Creed. We'll be expanding upon that a little bit, so make sure you tune in for that. That will be next week, and we won't have a guest with us. And
Power
then
Squad.
We're going to do a little bit of a... maybe we'll do something special for E3, but we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get closer. And make sure you're following myself and Connor. That's on Twitter, which is twitter.com/aftermath1231 and twitter.com/McCrackenway, I believe, so that you can keep up with all the details about what we're doing. If you would like to be a guest or would like to ask us a question to answer on the show, remember that you can do that every single week, not just on the special episodes. Then you can contact us on any ways listed earlier or any ways listed in the description. I will see you next week. Thanks for joining us. See you later.